another episode of the Park2Park podcast, where we compare theme park offerings from coast to coast. We don't always see eye to eye, but in the end, we'll try. I'm your host, CJ, and as always, I'm joined by my sister and co-host, Alli. Alli, how are you doing in Texas this evening?
CJ, I am doing okay. I have a very sick husband and I am avoiding him.
Oh
How are
dear.
you?
I am also doing okay. I have a messed up knee because of some IT band issues, and the marathon's coming up in 13 days, so I'm nervous.
Eee.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? All you have to do is finish.
You know, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do that because things just are not great over here with my leg. So I'm just going to aim to start and see what happens.
All you have to do is start and beat the balloon ladies.
You know, a good motto for runners participating in anything running related is a do not finish is better than a do not start. So crossing the
Yes.
start line is always a good thing. So that's really my goal, and I'm just hoping that all the stretching and strengthening I'm doing now is going to carry me through, even if I have to walk the whole thing, which I don't want to do, but it might come down to that. Honestly, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. And honestly, by the time this comes out, you'll be done
Yeah,
one
that's
way or
true.
another.
That's true. Whether it's a failure or not, I'll
Yep.
be done.
You know what?
Well,
The only failure is not participating, like you said.
true.
So I'm the failure.
Wow, a confession.
At least for this race, I'm the failure. But you're failing at Princess and I'm not, so
Yeah, I think I decided because my body's not 100%, I might have to run this race again next year, which my husband's not going to be too happy about, but he doesn't have a choice. So,
hey, next year dopey?
that thought does run through my mind occasionally, but I wanted to see how the marathon went this year. I don't know. It's in the back of my mind. It's that thought
Eh,
has always been in the back of my mind. So I'm shelving that idea for now.
okay. You're crazy, but okay.
I know. I know. Well, I think we should hang on to our hats and glasses.
I forgot mine.
Yeah, I don't have mine on either, but we should hang on to our invisible ones. You know why?
Because this year's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
That's right. Tonight we're talking about our favorite runaway train ride, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
And it is legitimately my favorite ride in Disneyland.
Is it your favorite
So,
ride at Magic Kingdom? I don't remember.
ooh, yes.
Okay. I might have to fact check you on that and go back and listen to season 1, episode 1, and see if that's what you said was your favorite ride.
Ooh. Okay. Well, at this point in time, I would say yes. Big Thunder is my favorite ride at both Disneyland and at Magic Kingdom.
Okay. Now, if we talk about like the resort overall, would it still be your favorite ride?
I'd
She's
say it's
thinking.
it's definitely top 3 for Disneyland. And
Okay.
I want to say it's top 5 for Magic Kingdom, but
Wow.
I don't know
You
if
mean for
it's
Disney
still.
World overall?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Disney World overall. I don't know if it's number 1 within those. I would have to do a lot of thinking that I don't have the capacity for right now to determine
Okay,
that.
that's fair. That's fair. And I think all Disney Parks fans, we kind of have the list of our favorites, and one day this one will be number one, and the next day, number five will be number one or something like that. So
Yeah. But this has been a consistent favorite of mine since before I was tall enough to go on it.
we're not going to talk about how that happened. But let's talk about your favorite things about this ride at Disneyland and Magic Kingdom. So why don't you share your favorite parts of these rides?
Disneyland, I like the goat and the dynamite and how they come together in the final hill.
Okay. And what about at Magic Kingdom?
At Magic Kingdom, I just watched the ride through literally 5 minutes ago. It's still open on YouTube on my computer. I like the scenery and I like where it's placed within Frontierland. When you're going around the mountain, you're not seeing just the mountain. You're seeing other things, but they all fit versus like at Disneyland, you're going around the mountain and you're like, oh, there's Batu. Like,
Yeah. I
it's
remember
placed
when
better.
I remember when Galaxy's Edge was under construction and we would go up that one hill and we'd be like, "Oh, look at Galaxy's Edge." And you'd start to go down like, "Oh, I can still see it."
Yeah.
As you turned around the hill. That's like such a specific moment in Disneyland history. I
Yeah.
mean, I agree with you. It's a little weird that you can see that, but also like it's just so funny that everybody used to do that. Like, "Oh, look what's changed."
Yeah.
So for me, the Disneyland Big Thunder, I just like that it's a fun ride. Like everyone laughs on that ride. It's not, this ride is not a particularly scary or like overly
No.
thrilling ride. So it's just fun.
Yeah.
And then at Magic Kingdom, I really like the town sequence towards like the middle of the ride with the guy in the bathtub.
I always miss the guy in the bathtub. I know he's there and I'm always looking for him and I think I've seen him once.
Yeah, I like that part a lot. It's a classic Disney gag. It's funny. So let's talk opening dates.
At Disneyland, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad opened on September 2nd, 1979.
So Magic Kingdom, I was having a hard time finding the exact opening date. I went to the D23 website just for generic um, Big Thunder, and it said September 23rd, 1980. But then all these other websites said November 15th. Even Disney Parks blog on like November 15th a few years ago, it said, on this day in Disney history, Big Thunder Railroad opened. I was like, what? So I did some more digging. Turns out September 23rd, 1980 was the soft opening of Big Thunder at Magic Kingdom, but the grand opening was November 15th, 1980. So that's why there's two opening dates. Now for fun facts, history, and trivia. Allie, take it away.
The Disneyland version was designed by Tony Baxter, who was inspired by Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah. The Imagineers went to ghost towns of the West to get some of the set pieces. The miniature ghost town of Big Thunder that you roll past at the end of the attraction actually predates Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It was originally named Rainbow Ridge, and the town is one of several elements from the Rainbow Caverns mine train, which was later called the Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland, that transported guests around Frontierland from 1956 to 1977. And some of the animatronics on Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland were reused on Big Thunder.
And I believe, on like towards Tom Sawyer Island, there's like a little bit of train track that's like falling apart and dilapidated. It's like through a
Yeah,
cave. I
like
think
across the
that's,
bridge.
yeah, I think that's part of the mine train through Nature's Wonderland. I'm pretty sure.
I think so too.
Yeah. That's one of the rides from Disneyland history I wish I had been able to go on because it looked really cool.
Yeah, well, you weren't born then.
I know. And the way that I think that it probably was reminds me of that like Calico mine ride at Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I can see like the Calico train ride, whatever it's called, is probably like inspired by that. I don't know which one came first, but I think they probably mimicked each other in a lot of ways.
Yeah, inspired each other.
Yeah. So Magic Kingdom Big Thunder fun facts. This one was inspired by Monument Valley, which is a different park. It's on the Arizona-Utah border, and it's actually featured in Soarin' Around the World. So if you go on that ride and you see like the big, tall rock structures, think about Big Thunder. Tony Baxter initially began work on this attraction in the early 70s, but it was put on hold in lieu of the Pirates ride. And there's a lot of backstory here about a ride called the Western River Expedition, and there was also going to be a train ride there. But then guests came to Magic Kingdom and they were like, well, where's Pirates? We want Pirates. And then that's when they axed the river ride. And Tony Baxter was like, well, we can reuse this train ride idea that I have. So the train ride was put on hold for Pirates and then on hold again for Space Mountain instead. And then it actually benefited from being put on hold because technology, evolved. And so this was one of the first Disney rides to be built with CAD technology, with like computer assisted design. And so that's pretty cool. And at the Magic Kingdom version, there's a portrait of Tony Baxter in the queue. So if you know what Tony Baxter looks like, look for a portrait of him. This is a very interesting piece of medical trivia relating to the Magic Kingdom Big Thunder. In October 2016, the Journal of American Osteopathic Association published a paper called, I'm going to butcher this. The paper is called Validation of a Functional Pilocalcial Renal Model for the Evaluation of Renal Calculi Passage While Riding a Roller Coaster. You might be wondering, what the heck is that all about? Well, this doctor, Dr. Wardinger, he found that some of his patients had passed kidney stones after riding Big Thunder. And one of them had actually passed 3 different kidney stones on 3 separate occasions. So, with Disney's permission, he conducted this like test basically where he 3D printed a kidney stone and tested it over 20 different times, like riding the ride in different rows, recording the results, and nearly 70% of the time the kidney stone was passed, depending on which row they were seated in. He also apparently tried it on Space Mountain and Rock and Roller Coaster and did not achieve the same results.
Do you remember when I had kidney stones?
Yes.
So I stayed at home. I was taking medication that made me super loopy. I stayed at home with mom and watched Sound of Music. Turns out she should have taken me to Disneyland.
No, to Disney World. You could have gotten a
What?
Florida vacation about that.
Disneyland was much closer at the time, so
Yes, true, true. So, anyways, it's a very interesting piece of medical literature related to Disney World. Okay, and this fun fact applies to all the big thunders around the world because there's a lot of them. It's connected to the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, also known as SEA. We've talked about it before when we talked about Jungle Cruise. Big Thunder actually has quite a deep lore. There's a comic book series about Big Thunder. Yeah, yeah, there is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, like how they have the Figment comic books?
No.
Oh, well, there's a Big Thunder comic series. Um, yeah, they have a pretty deep lore and they are connected to SEA. So Barnabas T. Bullion is the founder of the Big Thunder Mining Company. That's who Tony Baxter portrays in that portrait in the queue. He's a member of SEA. And then there's a character named Jason Chandler who wrote a letter to Barnabas T. Bullion, which is in the Big Thunder queue in Florida. He's also identified as a member of SEA. Jason Chandler was actually a character created for Discovery Bay, I think, or Discovery Bay, I think. Yeah, the land that was going to be in Disneyland that Tony Baxter designed that never came to fruition. So, yeah, there's a lot of reading you can do about Big Thunder. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, I learned a lot just from the little bit of research that we did tonight. I learned the story of the ride. Like,
Well, I can't wait to hear it.
we'll get there in a little bit. First, we got to
Yes.
talk about the location. At Disneyland, it's in Frontierland, obviously. If you're looking like bird's eye view, it's to the right of the Rivers of America.
Yeah, and in Magic Kingdom, also in Frontierland, it's the left of Rivers America. It's like nestled back there in its own corner by Splash Mountain and the Frontierland Railroad Station. Let's talk about the queue and the exterior.
At Disneyland, you go down a gently sloped ramp under the tracks and below the town, past the dino skeleton, and up some stairs to the boarding area. This queue is uncovered until the stairs in the boarding area, and the California version of Big Thunder Railroad is the only version to have an outdoor loading and unloading area.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, worldwide, everyone else is indoors. California is the only one to be outdoors. It is covered, but it is outdoors.
Yeah, really, the whole queue is pretty much outdoors except that
Yeah.
portion that goes up the stairs,
Yeah. You get patches of shade, but it's
thanks to some
mm.
trees. Yeah, it can get really hot in that
Yeah.
queue. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure can.
So at the Magic Kingdom queue, you go up some stairs and up a ramp that winds into the mine shaft area. The queue is built into the rocks of the mountain. It's like you've entered a mine, essentially. Then you go past a paymaster and you see some props referencing explosives and diagrams of the mine. And about 10 years ago, they added some interactive elements that you can play with. And you get some really pretty views of the mountain out the side. You do go back, you just like California, you go past that like dinosaur area that's at the end of the ride. But you're inside looking out these like open air windows at it. The queue is mostly indoors and covered, but it is open air. If the line is long, you will be outside for a little bit. Hopefully not. And then eventually you go down a ramp, which splits into two for the boarding area.
In the queue for Disneyland Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, you get some old-timey Western music, and then of course you hear the trains. They make like steam whistle noises and things like that.
Yeah, Magic Kingdom's very similar. It's that old-timey music. You hear the Liberty Bell going by. The train station is like very close to that, so when the train's operating, you can hear that. And then Splash Mountain's right there, so you can hear people screaming on Splash Mountain.
The mine cars themselves. Each train has 5 cars featuring 3 rows of seats each, for a total of 15 rows, and each row can sit one, two, or a very small three, with a lap bar. And each of the trains are uniquely named. At Disneyland, you have You Be Bold, You Are Courageous, I Am Loco, I Be Hearty, and You Are Daring.
So Magic Kingdom, it's the same seating configuration, same amount of rows. The train names are a little bit different. We have You Be Bold, You Are Courageous, You Are Daring, I Am Brave, I Be Hardy, and I Am Fearless.
Cute.
Yes, yes. Okay, so you said you learned a lot about the storyline. So, Allie, why don't you share what you learned about the storyline?
Yeah, so I pulled this from Wikipedia and I didn't know any of this beforehand. So the details vary from park to park. So each park is going to be a little bit different, but there's the same general story arc. There was gold discovered on Big Thunder Mountain, in the American Southwest, and overnight the small mining town became a thriving one. But unbeknownst to the settlers, the mountain was a sacred spot to local Native Americans and was cursed.
Oh, of course.
So, yeah, of course. The settlers' desecration of the mountains caused a great tragedy. Depending on which park you're in, it could be an earthquake, a tsunami, or a flash flood.
Okay, hold on. I really like how the tragedy is kind of relevant to the
Localized.
location. I
Yeah.
don't know if France gets earthquakes, but earthquake makes sense for California, tsunami for Tokyo, and flooding for Florida. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. This tragedy led the town to be abandoned. And sometime later, the locomotives were found to be racing around the mountain on their own without engineers or a crew.
That is so
And
creepy.
the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad was founded kind of as a tourist attraction in the former mining camp to allow wanderers to take rides on the possessed trains.
So so it's like a haunted mansion train ride.
Yeah, you know what? You've seen Gravity Falls. I feel like Grunkle Stan found this and decided he could make some money off of it.
Wow, Big Thunder was ahead of its time, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and the description from the Disneyland website kind of touches on this as well. The Disneyland website says, legend has it that after gold was discovered in the 1850s, eerie incidents took place in the mines. Trains would take off and race through the tunnels by themselves. As you enter the cursed cavern, your train speeds up along the rickety track. Shoot under a booming waterfall and dodge a falling boulder from an unexpected landslide as you swoop around sharp turns and drop into desolate canyons. On this rip roaring adventure, you may learn that some legends turn out to be true.
Okay. Rainbow Ridge is a creepy place.
Indeed.
Okay. So, Magic Kingdom, the town here is called Tumbleweed, and here's the description from the Disney website. It's very similar. Legend has it that soon after gold was first discovered here in the 1850s, eerie things began to happen. Trains would take off and race through tunnels by themselves. After you arrive at the legendary Big Thunder Mining Company, descend into an abandoned mine shaft and board your train. As you enter the cursed cavern, the engine speeds up along the rickety track. Dodge exploding dynamite and falling boulders as you swoop around turns, drop into canyons, and dart through the mysterious ghost town of Tumbleweed. Your rip roaring adventure proves that some legends are true. You're sure to have a real blast.
Hey.
You know what's funny though? Well, hang on. I'm going to go through like a turn by turn explanation here of what happens at Magic
Okay.
Kingdom. So you board the train on the lowest level of the mine, then you take a turn into a cave of bats glowing in the dark, and you head up the first lift hill where you see stalagmites and stalactites with some water on the like dripping onto the floor. And as you crest the hill, there's a waterfall on either side. Not hitting you unless you reach your hands out. And then you race down and around the mountain, occasionally passing by other train cars. You pass by some possums and other animals by that little town that's flooded, that little ghost town. That's where you see the little bathtub guy. And then you head up another hill where you see some mining props, and here you get a great view of the train tracks and the little town down below. Then you go down again, you pass by a goat, continuing to curve around the mountain. You pass by one final small show scene, and you enter the final lift hill with more mining equipment before careening down and around the mountain one final time. At the very end, you pass through a dinosaur skeleton and a geyser scene, and then you return to the station. Now, the Disneyland version is like pretty much the same, only where you turn left, you turn right, and vice versa.
It's just a mirror version of it.
Yeah, and there are another couple minor differences. Like I recall coyotes on the Disneyland version, whereas I don't recall them on the Magic Kingdom version.
Well, I think that makes sense. Are there coyotes in Florida?
Yeah, but the ride takes place on the Arizona-Utah border.
Where there are so often earthquakes and flash floods. I guess that's never mind. There can be flash floods in the desert too. But I'm just saying coyotes are more prevalent in Southern California than they are in Florida.
You know what's surprising? I've seen coyotes walking through the neighborhood here. Twice.
That's crazy.
Yes. Isn't that weird? The neighborhood to the south of us had a bear walking through the streets.
I'm sorry, a bear?
Yes. That's totally off topic.
I mean, we get so I can hear coyotes at night sometimes. I just hear them like yipping like crazy. We get a ton of deer in our neighborhood. And we also occasionally will get cows.
Oh yeah, I hear
like
cows.
Loose cows. Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, we're like near ranch land in Texas, so the ranchers' cattle wanders loose.
Anyways, no cows on Big Thunder. They're not
no
hanging
cows,
out in the
just
desert.
goats.
Yes. And the other thing is, Disneyland's version had that upgrade in like 2015, 2016. You want to talk about the last lift hill?
Yeah, so that area got a major upgrade, and I think it makes a lot of sense because when you go up, there's one hill that you go up and you see the goat chewing on dynamite. And that goat chewing on dynamite is like Chekhov's gun. So you get to the last lift hill and you're inside this tunnel and you can see like the fire going up the fuse line, and there's like a big boom and the rocks are all shaking and the dynamite goes off when you're in this hill. Oh no, you gotta get out.
Yeah. Yeah, and the smoke goes sometimes the smoke doesn't work, but the smoke should come out theoretically. Yeah. And I think I don't know if it was a full track replacement or not, but it's definitely a lot smoother than it used to be.
I believe it was a full track replacement.
Anyways, it looks good. So the exit queue experience, Alli.
At Disneyland, you exit opposite of where you boarded. Yeah, so there are two boarding areas. You may or may not go to the same one when you board, or when you disembark is when you board. But either way, you're getting out of the other side of the train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you go up a small hill, either through a cave or just a walkway, depending on if you're on the left or the right. And then it's like 30 feet and you're back out in Frontierland and you can see Big Thunder Mountain.
Yep. Magic Kingdom's basically the same, only you're definitely going through a cave and you kind of like go out. It's almost like a boardwalk or like a deck where there's just this really pretty vista overlooking the rivers of America, and a lot of times there's a PhotoPass photographer right there to take your picture. So, all right, top speed.
For both of them, approximately 35 miles per hour.
Yeah. And height is 40 inches for both of them.
They are both open during fireworks, and I highly recommend going on, at least for Disneyland, during fireworks.
Yeah, Magic Kingdom too. It's a good experience if you can time it right. And Magic Kingdom, the line drops, like the wait time drops significantly during the fireworks. So it's a good time to go. Rain, they can be open during the rain. It depends on the severity of the rain for both coasts.
And both coasts have lightning lane, but no single rider.
Correct. I realized we missed a morbid fun fact.
Oh, are we going to talk about the person who died on Big Thunder?
We can. Somebody died on Big Thunder in Disneyland. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell you the full story. I don't know it.
It was during a period of time in Disneyland's history where like maintenance was not really number one. Like they kind of slacked off a little bit, I think. Yeah, and the train crashed, and yeah.
I think it was just one person who passed away. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah. Anyways, well, now that we've got the facts laid out, it's time for the final showdown. Can we see eye to eye? Does one side stand out above the crowd? Alli, what are you thinking?
So this is really hard for me because I do love both of them. Um, and it is one of my favorite rides, like, of all time. I think as much as my heart is true to Disneyland, I'm gonna go with Magic Kingdom. It feels a little bit less cramped. The queue is better, and I think the scenery on the ride is better.
Okay, by scenery on the ride, do you mean like the scenery of the ride or the stuff outside the ride that you can see from the ride?
Yes, the second one, the stuff outside the ride that you can see from the ride.
Okay. You know what's funny?
Hmm.
I was laughing about this before you made your decision. You were like hemming and hawing a little bit, but not that much compared to how much I hem and haw over the decision.
Uh,
And I was like, oh, Allie's uncomfortable. Oh,
I
she
am
can't make a decision.
uncomfortable.
But you know what? I'm gonna agree with you on this one.
Okay. What's your
Yeah.
reasoning?
Okay. I, it's kind of the same thing. I think the location of the Magic Kingdom one kind of being off in the corner of the park. First of all, I think that's both an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage being it's a pain in the butt to get to. Like
Yes.
you got to get all the way back there and it's a long walk and there's nothing else to do there. Like especially if you have little kids, there's like nothing else for them to do. It's just Big Thunder and Splash Mountain basically. Um, the advantage is that you have those really pretty vistas and viewpoints that you're talking about. And I think that's really cool. And if the premise is that this is a haunted train that's running around on its own, like you kind of want it to have the feeling of being abandoned and off on its
Yeah.
own. It's not going to be in the middle of whatever.
Right next to a bustling Mexican restaurant.
Right? That doesn't make any sense.
Delicious, delicious food, by the way. Go eat at Rancho del Zocalo, I think.
Rancho del
Delicious food.
Zocalo, yeah.
Right next to Big Thunder at Disneyland. Yum! Makes no sense thematically to be right there, but
Right.
delicious.
Right. Yeah. So I think the location helps the story part of it. And I'm a lot about the story. And it's the views also. I think the views are really pretty. I do think it could use a track replacement. Like I think it could use
Yeah.
some of the upgrades that Disneyland got. But I also like that some of the show scenes are a little bit different. The guy in the
Yeah, for
bathtub.
sure.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm surprised we agree on this one.
Yeah, honestly, me too, considering how weird it is for me to ride Big Thunder at Magic Kingdom, because I'm just like, this train is going the wrong way every single
Yeah.
time. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
turning left here, but you're turning right. Like, what is this? Come
I
on.
know. I'm still kind of dealing with that same thing. I still get a little confused too.
Yeah.
But they're both really great rides. I think it's pretty approachable if your child has kind of like if they're confident on like Goofy's Barnstormer or Goofy's Sky School or something like that and they're ready for the next thing. I think this one's a good option. It's not that scary and there's moments where it slows down for every lift hill so you can kind of gather yourself and
Yeah.
check it on. And you're sitting right next to them. You share a seat with a lap bar, so it's
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good like first roller coaster type of
Yeah,
ride.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I hope they never get rid of that lap bar seating. I really enjoy that. I think that adds to the
Yeah.
experience.
If you're sitting next to somebody who is slightly larger than you, the lap bar doesn't go down all the way and you get some really good bounces when you're the
Some
smaller
good
person.
air time. I
It's
know.
so much fun.
I
So
know.
much fun.
My poor child just kind of flies around, and I hang on to him real tight on that one.
I mean, that was what like mom did with us when we were little kids. Like we
Yeah,
got we got air with mom. It was so great.
you just have to hang on, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Anyways, as we were talking about this, the thought struck me that maybe we should do like an SEA season or something. A season
Oh my gosh,
at
CJ.
at Disneyland and Disney World.
CJ.
Listen, it's
Wow.
interesting and the lore is so deep.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm groaning at your season message.
Okay.
Like,
Oh, the
come
pun.
on. Yeah, your pun.
Okay.
Lord.
I'm sorry. Okay. We'll revisit that another time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, with that, unless we have any other thoughts,
Big Thunder, best Thunder.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us as we discuss the wildest ride in the wilderness. Let us know what you think is better, the Disneyland version or the Magic Kingdom version, or if you've been on the international versions. Listen, I want to go on that Paris version because I've seen pictures of
Ah,
it covered in snow and it's so pretty.
I've wanted to go on it so badly, but as I've mentioned a couple times before, my 2020 trip to Paris did not happen. We all
Was
know
it?
why.
I thought it did.
No, it still hasn't happened. It's 2022 and it still hasn't happened. And my husband is sick with COVID again. So,
Anyways, let us know which Big Thunder Mountain Railroad you think is the best version. You can find us on Instagram at Park2Park Pod with the number 2, or you can email us at park2parkpod@gmail.com, again with the number 2. And if you would like to be on an episode of the Park to Park podcast, drop us a line. Probably on
yeah.
Instagram or via email is the best way. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And guess what? We're on YouTube. So if you're watching us, hello, YouTube.
Hello.
Make sure you tell us which one's the prettier one. Alli has no comments.
I mean, I was willing to let it go, and you just keep bringing it up. You know what? Yeah, last episode I edited, I said that you get to see like our beautiful smiling faces, and I left it at that. I was stopping the competition here.
Okay, to be fair, this time I left you room to take a shot and you didn't say anything and I didn't say
You
anything
did.
either.
You did. We're being nice to each other for once in our lives.
I'm waving a white flag. I'm calling a truce.
I don't have any flag-like things near me because I'm not at a desk. I'm on a pull-out couch in my guest room, but I'm very pale, so here.
She's waving her hand. Anyways, we'll see you guys next time where we will have a special guest join us.
Yeah, somebody who reached out to us because he wanted to be on our podcast, or did you reach out to him? I'm not sure.
It was
I
kind of
wasn't.
mutual.
Yeah, I wasn't part of this conversation. I just showed up for the recording.
Our friend Johnny J from the DMSW podcast will be coming on to share his thoughts on his trip to Disneyland, his first trip to Disneyland, comparing it to Walt Disney World. So tune in for that. And if you would like to, do a similar episode comparing one park to another, drop us a line.
Or comparing an international park to a US park. We'd be
Oh,
interested in that as well.
that would be cool because neither of us have ever been to an international park.
And I'm not salty about it at all.
Not at all. All right. We'll see you guys next time.